What's up, guys? I'm Jared Lloyd, and today I want to talk to you about this. So I guess the first thing we have to do is actually define what this crazy contraption is right here. Really Right Stuff makes this guy, and it is called a fluid gimbal head. That means it's both a gimbal and a fluid head. So a gimbal head is pretty much standard fare for most wildlife photographers. If you're out there in the field photographing animals, you want a gimbal head. It's just so much nicer to work with than an old-fashioned ball head. Ball heads have their place. The camera that I'm filming this on right now is on a ball head. Ball heads are great for landscapes. They're great for macro. They're great for studio work. They're a fantastic thing. But when it comes to wildlife photography, you want a gimbal head. So if you're a wildlife photographer, you probably already know about gimbal heads, but what you might not understand is the purpose of a fluid head. So as the name implies, a fluid head is filled with fluid, and the idea behind that is that that fluid is in there to dampen down any movement. So anytime you're watching TV, anytime you're watching a movie, a documentary, as you watch that camera pan with the action, what's keeping that nice and smooth and soft and silky is the fluid inside of the head. That's why they're so large. That's why they're so heavy. That's why they're so expensive. And that's why most photographers never use these things. But enter Really Right Stuff. So they decided to bring together these two concepts, the gimbal and the fluid head, because they know that wildlife photographers the world over are going to be moving towards videography. Mark my words, all of us will be doing this one day. That's a pretty bold statement right there to make, to say that we're all going to be shooting video here one day. And technically speaking, I would say it's probably going to be within the next 10 years or so. So think about it this way. The video that you're watching right now, it's actually being filmed in 24 frames a second. That's 24 individual frames, much like my Nikon D5 takes 12 frames per second. So full disclosure here, Really Right Stuff sent this guy to me about 4 months ago to experiment with, to play with, to try with, and I have traveled all over North America since receiving this guy right here. I've been in Canada photographing the elk, North Dakota photographing wild horses in the Badlands, the Wind River Mountains photographing and filming bighorn sheep and moose and grizzly bears, and now I'm out on the coast of North Carolina. This is the coastal plain. I'm in a swamp right now, and I'm out here looking for waterfowl and black bears. So this guy has been dragged through the ringer by me, and so I think that I've got a pretty good understanding of its pros and its cons, its strengths and its weaknesses. So let's start with the strengths of this guy right here. As a gimbal for still photography, it's fantastic. I love this thing. It's a bit heavy. It's maybe a little bit over-engineered for a lot of people, but for me personally, with my lifestyle, traveling all over the world, I love it. Every one of these pieces right here actually breaks apart, which makes traveling with it so much easier. With most full gimbal heads like this, you're stuck with this large contraption right here. But with the Really Right Stuff version of this, I can take it apart into 3 or 4 separate pieces and store each one of those things into different places, which makes traveling to locations like Panama and Honduras and the Amazon so much easier when space and weight is such a consideration in every single bag that I'm carrying. Now, in regards to this thing as a fluid head, what you have to understand, first and foremost, take some of this with a grain of salt, because technically speaking, nothing else like this is on the market today. So if you're somebody that is going to shoot both stills and video, you need this right here, regardless of what weaknesses I might have found in this head over the last few months. First and foremost, it needs more fluid. It's simple as that. It's just not enough to dampen down your movements. If you're trying to do a slow pan with a 600mm lens, it's jumping all over the place, and it takes forever in Premiere Pro in order to use warp stabilizer and try and fix all of that jerky, shaky footage right there. And so that's something that Really Right Stuff could fix on this by making it a little bit more robust and adding a bit more fluid to it, and ultimately helping us dampen down the movements more here. The next thing that I don't like about this is this little switch right here. So you can see this guy actually controls the dampening, or not the dampening, but it controls this right here. I can flip it one way, it locks it into place, I flip it back the other way, and I'm allowed to move it around here. This is annoying There's no reason this shouldn't be a knob like this, or even larger. On Wimberley's gimbal heads, they have a nice big knob right here. And to be honest, with Really Right Stuff, in their full gimbal that's not the fluid gimbal head, they also have that knob right here. But the copy they sent me, it's got this little guy right here, and I absolutely hate it. It's a pain in the butt to try and use. I'm constantly fumbling with it, and I find that it just gets in the way. It's constantly causing jerking movement on my part, instead of a nice big knob there to where I could quickly and smoothly and easily adjust the tension. Here, you've got to use two little fingers, and it's so finite, it just doesn't work. Now, in regards to its movement with the fluid inside of the head, it's pretty good for fast-moving subjects. So if I'm trying to keep up with a swan flying through the sky or something like that, it's nice and smooth, and I can do that no problem whatsoever. But as soon as I come down to a nice slow pan, everything falls apart. And that's where this thing needs more fluid and more dampening to kind of slow down and mellow out those movements to make everything a bit more silky. But then again, this is $1,500, not $15,000. And so maybe that's one of the compromises that Really Right Stuff ultimately had to make in order to marry these two different concepts here. Now, the way this works as a fluid head is it actually has tabs right here. These buttons, if you will. There's two of them here on the base, and there's two of them up here on the vertical shaft. And you can actually press those in and out to increase or decrease the amount of dampening that you have with this as a fluid head. It just needs more. Maybe one or two more of these guys, and twice the amount of fluid would really fix the problems that I'm finding with this guy. At the end of the day, given that this industry is ultimately going to start moving towards video, you're probably going to need something like this. Okay guys, that's my story. That's what I think about Really Right Stuff's fluid gimbal head. It works, it's pretty cool. It's not a perfect thing, but what really is in this world. But I can't tell you this, it's the only thing like this in the field. So it's not going anywhere for me. I'm digging this thing right here, and especially the fact that I can take it all apart and split the pieces up into separate bags. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel right here, and also check out the Photographer's Journal. The link's going to be in the comments below here.